Hi, my name is Derek Garcia, and today I'll be reviewing Tern, an SBOM generator for Linux that generates a number of SBOM reports for Docker images, including SPDX and CycloneDX standards. Tern also has a few additional utilities built in, including a Docker lock file generation and SBOM scanner plugins. It can be used in a variety of environments, including Docker, Kubernetes, and Vagrant. However, today I'll just be demonstrating the Linux and Docker methods. As per usual, I'll be demonstrating on an Ubuntu server. I've already set up a clean Python virtual environment to work in. Tern requires a few prerequisite Linux packages, some of which include Git, JQ, and Scopio. Tern uses a lot of shell scripts when running. However, I've already installed a lot of them via apt-get, but make sure they're installed before running the tool. To install Tern itself, we can use pip, like so. Now the installation I found does take a while. Alright, and we can check that it's installed by passing the help flag. Starting off with the most basic usage, we can generate a basic report from a Docker image with Tern report. So Tern report -I and the Docker image and the tag. And after a moment, we'll get a report. Alright, by default we get a human readable report printed to the standard output. The target image can either be installed locally or Tern will attempt to pull the image. We can also scan the Docker file directly. So I've cloned the Alpine repo locally just to demonstrate. We can use the -d flag to pass in the path to that Docker file. And as you saw with the previous example, Tern has the debug mode turned on by default, which can be a little distracting if you're just looking for a basic report. You can run it in quiet mode by patching in this -q flag with Tern, but I'm going to be running it without this flag just so you can get a better sense of how long these reports take to generate. And I'll run this. And we can view the package information just like before. And we can see with this one that there's multiple layers. So Tern will create a layer for each container layer that exists in that Docker file. So for example, say if you're running a Golang container, the base OS might be Linux. So Tern will take into account for both of these and create two layers, one for the Linux and one for Golang. So as useful as this is, it also means a lot of recursive parsing. You can see it with the Tern debug, but that's why I'm using Alpine as an example. Since it's so small, I'm able to demonstrate very quickly. Other Docker projects I've tried that aren't much larger can take 5-15 minutes to complete. So it's just something to keep in mind when using this tool. Moving on, Tern also supports a number of reports besides the human readable form. These include JSON, HTML, YAML, SPDX tag, and JSON and CycloneDX JSON. We can generate the file with the -f flag like so, and we just pass in our desired output format. And we'll see the SPDX tag report printed to the standard output. If we wanted to write to a file, we can use the -o flag to specify the file path. So for example, to generate a CycloneDX JSON, we're just passing in the -o, so it's going to write to cdx.json in my current working directory. And we can just view that output real quick. And we've got a pretty decent SBOM. Again, not very large because it's a very small image. Tern also has the ability to create Docker lock files, which is a more standardized version of a Docker file and more accurately reflects what the produced image contains. To generate a lock file, we can use the following tern lock command. So we have tern lock. I have a path to my Docker file, and I'm putting it out to the dockerfile.lock. Dockerfile.lock is the default, but you can name it whatever you'd like with the -o flag. But again, in my case, I'm just writing it to my current working directory. After running that, compare the two files with a quick bash script. And we can see that the log file down here, up here, is a little more descriptive than the actual Docker file. It's a niche feature, but it's available if you need something like that. Alright, I'll clear up what we have. And for using Tern with Docker, I'll first clone the source code that has the image. So in this case, the Tern D. And then I'm going to build the image, which will take a minute, but afterwards we can check to see that the build was successful. Alright, and we can check to see. We have our image, and there it is. For just printing to the standard output, we can run the container and just use the Tern arguments like previously demonstrated. So for example, I'm just running, I'm going to remove the container after I'm finished, but just like before, report -I with our image and tag, and just doing to a JSON form. And we can see it's not printed very nice, but all our JSON information is here. For getting files, Tern provides a shell script within the Tern directory to use instead of manually typing out the Docker commands, so it's convenient. So I'm going to run the docker_run.sh from the Tern directory, pass in the image name and the commands all in quotes, and just redirecting the output to cdx.json. And we can preview that file once again, and we get the same information. Again, very small because it's Alpine. This method also allows the use of the lock command, which is the same as the previous example, just pass in the desired commands into the script with quotes. Tern also supports two packages as plugins that can be used with a tool, Scancode and cve-bin-tool. Scancode identifies licenses within dependencies, and cve-bin-tool is a vulnerability scanner. We plan on doing proper demos on these tools in the future, but if you're interested in learning more about them in the meantime, I'll link to them below. We can install both tools with the following pip command, like so. However, these do take a while, and I won't be installing them today. I should also mention that I've used other images other than Alpine to use these tools, which highlights Tern's weakest area, runtime. Like I mentioned earlier, I've been using Alpine to demo since it's so small, but larger images take much longer to scan because Tern goes so in depth, which could throttle a development pipeline. The reports are fairly in depth, but it's just something to be aware of when using this tool. Along with that, I won't be demoing these plugins directly since I've run into a series of issues when using them. So instead, I have run these tools outside of this demo, and I'll just show you how to set them up and review what the output was. Starting with Scancode, we can set the plugin we want to use with the -x flag and any of the previous Tern report arguments. So in this case, I'm passing in the -x for Scancode, -d, and just a path to a Docker file. Again, I'm not going to run this, rather just show the output since it took 40 minutes for this to run in its entirety. While the output is in depth, it doesn't appear that Scancode is doing much. I've briefly looked over Scancode's GitHub page, and I'm not sure the Scancode was necessarily built for this kind of environment. However, Tern seems to do well enough identifying licenses without any plugin, so I'm not sure how much use Scancode would be. Next is the cve-bin-tool, and I've used this on a vulnerable project, but again, since I'm not demonstrating, we just pass in the -x for the tool, and this would be just your image right here. Unfortunately, I was unable to use this tool at all. Every attempt would result in some sort of crash. I'm not sure whether it's the tool or the plugin causing it, but it is unfortunate as this would be a very useful plugin to pair with Tern. Last thing I'll mention is Tern does have a GitHub action. It's not made by the Tern team, but it is endorsed by them. There's a detailed documentation on how to use the action and an example repo that I'll link below, but I won't be covering it myself today. From my initial tests, I found that Tern runs significantly faster via the action, so it might be better suited automation than command line use. However, if there's interest in the action, we may review it in the future. Tern is a decent SBOM generator and image parser. Its recursive def capabilities are great, just at the cost of long run times. While it would be great if the plugins would work a little better with the tool, it's not necessarily crucial. But overall, Tern is costly for development cycle and would be best suited for a serious audit when it's needed, such as prior to a large release. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to reach out to us at learn.sbom.com.
Thank you for checking out this video. If you really liked it, be sure to check out our other videos right here, and then you can also subscribe right up top here. And again, thank you. Bye-bye.